Are you ready to dominate? Because it's time. From Philly to Vegas, Canada to Peru, and everywhere in between. It's time for the podcast that makes the offseason suck a hell of a lot less. From the creators of Dynasty Depot, the internet's only live auction site for Dynasty fantasy football teams. Here's your hosts, Nelson Verman and Rick Taylor.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to episode 1, season 1 of Dynasty Depot Live. We're going to do our best to cut the bullshit out of fantasy football and give you a no-nonsense approach. We're going to talk about RosterWatch's exclusive Dynasty Depot rankings. We're going to break down an actual team on Dynasty Depot. If you would buy it, what would you do with it? You need to know this stuff. It's info that you actually are going to need. First thing I would like to do is introduce my very close friend, the co-owner of Dynasty Depot, a master of the game himself with insight galore. I'd like to introduce my friend, Mr. Rick Taylor. Ricky.
Hey, what's up? That's a pretty nice intro, man.
Hey, only the best for you, my friend. Only the best.
That's
what's
right.
it like to get off conference calls and from 14-hour days and sit here and talk a little Dynasty Depot with our very valued guests we have on this evening?
It's cool. This will be the first podcast I've done, and it's it's a little change from the work calls at night. But man, Dynasty fantasy football, there's so much to talk about, and you and I kick it around all day, all the time. And it's great. The guest list, they can give some insight. We have a ton of insight. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, man, it's exciting. It's been an exciting time for Dynasty Depot with our kickoff 3 weeks ago and all the work we put in and the greatness that's happened so far. So, we're pretty excited about it. So guess what, Rick? We get to do our first commercial. And guess who our sponsor is? Guess who, Rick? That's right. Dynasty Depot Live is sponsored by Dynasty Depot, the world's first auction site for buying and selling redrafted FFPC Dynasty teams. So for the 3 people that are listening out there and don't know of Dynasty Depot, we have changed about 500 teams have changed hands in the first 3 weeks. Okay. There's over 250 teams for sale right now on Dynasty Depot. So if you want to get in on the action, go to dynastydepot.com, put in the promo code LIVE. That's dynastydepot.com, promo code LIVE. And what that's going to do is get you 75% off an all-pro membership. The perks are amazing. Ricky?
Yeah, so that's a great promo right there, 75% off. You didn't even mention some of the other things we have going on, like the leaderboard, the RosterWatch. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
That's awesome, man. So with that 75% off membership, I think it comes out to about $24. Okay, you're going to get a RosterWatch All Pro membership. They are the best in the business. It's $59 on their site. Rick and I are giving that to you for absolutely nothing. Everybody out there pays for rankings, right? So we have hired the best. RosterWatch is now doing Dynasty football rankings exclusively for Dynasty Depot. With your membership, you get these rankings for nothing. And then there's the leaderboard, Rick, which, me and you are probably the most exciting thing. So I'll explain it to the people out there. Every team you buy on Dynasty Depot hits our leaderboard. Well, what's that? So say you buy a $5 team, Rick. $5, and I buy a team for $2,000 off Dynasty Depot, and it's in a super flex league. We are now competing in the same league. It doesn't matter the price of the team. So your points will transfer from FFPC to the Dynasty Depot leaderboard each week. It's a game within a game. End of season prizes include a FFPC 2021 main event seat. What's the value of that? $2,000. But remember, Rick, you bought a team for $5. You turned it into a masterpiece. And now look, you're in the hunt for $500,000 for a $5 investment on Dynasty Depot. It's really exciting stuff, man, and I think they're going to love it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think everybody thinks they know the teams that are going to be good, and you look at a team that's maybe for sale and it's being sold cheaply, and maybe think it doesn't have a chance. But you know what? Going into last year, I thought all of my teams had a great chance, and half of them didn't. So why not take a shot, and you have a chance at a half of them.
I agree. And remember, I've looked at a lot of your teams, been a partner in some of your teams, and I really didn't think most of those teams had a chance, buddy. But, that's why there's apples and oranges, right, my brother?
Right.
Yeah. Right. So what I want to do right now is bring in a friend, our first guest. Honored to have this guy. You can find him at the GOAT District. Mr. JD from the GOAT District. Much love to you, my man. How are you in fantasy land?
What's up, Nelson? Rick, thanks for having me, guys. This is a pleasure. Nelson, man, you've been to my house. Now it's special that you finally invited me to your place. I got to say, man, I'm impressed. You got the intro down. You got the setup down. We're going on 150 shows soon. And like, we didn't have any of that. We didn't have no intro and you guys are light years ahead, man. So congrats on all the success on the site and on the show, man. Honored to be on the first episode. And thanks for having me, guys. Always looking forward to talk football.
JD, I got to say, the people don't know that. I remember reaching out to you in the very beginning of Dynasty Depot, pitching you what I had. You welcomed me on as a guest, brought me into your family, and I told you one day I wouldn't forget about it. And the love you and Danny have given to Dynasty Depot, all bullshit aside, really means a lot to us. Your friendship means a lot. Your knowledge is impeccable. Your site is impeccable. Your podcasts are the best. I love being on them. Keeps me up a little late at night because they're those 3-hour running things. But, man, what you guys have done is incredible, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate everything you've done for Dynasty Depot.
Yeah, man. Dan and I, look, we partner up with products we believe in. That's why we partner up with the FFPC, and that's why when you threw your idea at me, I mean, that's right up our alley, man. We're huge Dynasty players on the FFPC. We discuss the FFPC. We do quarter milli billies, which is based around the big tournaments on the FFPC. So when you pitched the idea, I mean, it was a no-brainer. We're in leagues together, so it just made a lot of sense. And I saw, the potential, and you were, generous enough to kind of include me on this ride, which has been kind of fun. So it's, I thank you back, my friend.
Yeah, I love you, man. Thanks a lot, man. So what I want to do is we're going to try to keep this show to 30, 35, 40 minutes. We're going to do hard-hitting stuff. And we're going to get right into it because I can't wait to hear, as my friend JD says, the goodness that he's going to spread in fantasy land here. And it's exciting for us. So we're going to, one more time. Give me that GOAT thing one more time. Listen, we're going to look for that snooze button. We're going to get a snooze button. So every time Rick nods off after his 18-hour days, we're going to hit that button right there.
Or we could do this one.
Right.
There you go.
I really wake him up.
Look, we got a reaction out of Rick right there. He's
I'll tell you what, one thing I need to do is get some stuff. I guess pictures on the walls is part of it, huh?
Yeah, what you do? You just paint today or something?
Hey, man, I took a shower. I shaved for this. Yeah. You don't go out anymore. So for me, this is like a night out,
Yeah, Rick's priming the walls. We invaded it.
You could do what my co-host Dan does. He got a green screen. It's like a shortcut, so you could put whatever you want on there and make it look like anything you want.
Yeah, Amazon didn't deliver today. We're a day late, $1 short. We don't have much money at Dynasty Depot, man. We're trying to scrap around. We couldn't afford that yet. Maybe in a show or two. Let me get into it, boys. Let me get into it. What we're here for, to talk some stuff. First segment on the first episode of Dynasty Depot Live is WTF, or what the, you know what I'm saying. So I'm like a chronic complainer. I'm never happy. What's that, Rick?
True.
Yeah, true. Thanks, Rick. So, I got a lot to say about stuff, and usually of it, it's a lot of WTF stuff. So I'm going to throw this out to you, and I'll probably take the longest because I'm pretty excited about this segment. But what's bothering you in fantasy football land? What's bothering you in the NFL? What's just annoying the shit out of you that you're able to come on my show and go ahead and bitch, and I'm excited to hear about it. I'm going to throw it to you first, JD. Throw something at us.
All right. WTF. Just in general, trade offers in general that come my way, especially in leagues. I run 3 GOAT leagues. You know, we try to hit we got a super flex, we got an OG GOAT, which is like, you know, your typical 1 QB, like old school, no premiums, PPR league, but that's like the golden one. You know, that's the original one. That's the one everybody's after. And then we have our, it's, you know, kind of actually it's very similar to the FFPC, but it's a 16 teamer. Oh, wow. Total brain fart. Wow. I apologize, guys. Oh, sorry. Okay. So what kind of gets under my skin, I apologize for that. Whether it's coming from one of my leagues or whether it's coming from a league that I've been in. I mean, dynasty leagues, you're in leagues. I'm in one league on the FFPC. It's one of my first ever dynasties. And it's a 500 buy-in, guys. You know, it's a serious league. Like, it's a very competitive league. Not to brag, I won it this year, which I'm very proud of. Finally got there. But some of the trade offers you get, it's not even, I mean, it's not even worth. I'm all about trying to always counter back. If I get an offer in Dynasty, I'm always trying to get a counter back. But some of the offers are not even worth the time. You know what I mean? Like, you're sending me like Rashad Penny, who has done nothing, who has first round draft capital maybe, and like a 3rd round pick, and you're trying to get like, I don't know, a Dobbins or an Akers or something like something just really.
Let me ask you a question on that. So how do you handle that? Do you respond? I know I respond usually with WTF or really question marks. Do you respond to those people, or do you just simply reject them and move on and know who you're dealing with?
So I will always, going along that kind of philosophy of always countering, I will always go and pull up the 2 rosters beside each other and look at what pieces they have that I like. So I'll either look at what they're offering me to see if it's something I'm interested in. Maybe I'm not going to give them Jacobs, but maybe I do think Penny can pop and I need the draft pick. So maybe I'll look for like a Ronald Jones or something like that. I'm just throwing a name out. I don't know if the value is close there. Jones's value is obviously up right now. But I'll always look for something. Or maybe the guy that they're after, I'll go back and see what on their roster I like and try to put something together if it's there. But a lot of the times, honestly, especially this time of year, I don't understand some of the offers. They're just so off in value that it's, you know, it's not fun. Like, don't bother sending it. Use a calculator. You know, if they're there.
It's people out there, they're fishing. And to me personally, it's annoying. And I'll usually just reject it, and I won't even counter, because if you're going to throw something at me like that, I don't really feel like dealing with you right now. It's a waste of my time.
You're better off sending out quality and looking for success rate versus just sending out a bunch of offers. You know, I'm big in, like, if you want to move someone, send offers to different owners in the league. But if you send a fair offer, and if you want a guy, I'm even good overpaying a bit. Send an overvalue a bit. You know, maybe there's someone like a Julio you want to move or something like that. And get your guy, move the guy you want to move. Everyone's happy. But sending these lowball offers that don't even make sense just to start, is that your way of starting a conversation? To me, it shows that it's going to take us a lot to get kind of in the middle.
That's a great point. That's how I feel. Rick, what do you got to say about that?
It's the same thing. That was my WTF too, because now, you know, in the dynasty leagues, all the trades just started, and I love seeing it pop up. You get an offer, but there's 2 things that bother me. One, I'll have a team with, you know, maybe it's short on running back, one good running back, and I'm stacked at receiver. And somebody will offer me a trade for that running back and giving me receivers. So they didn't take the time to look at my roster, and they're taking my only good player. And it just, you know, at least like Nels, you and I will say, hey, we need a back on this team. We'll look at the league. We'll pull up the rosters and say, this guy has 6 backs. He can give us one. We try to find a fit.
It's one of the first things you should do, you know, like basics.
Right. So basically what we're all trying to say is, if you're just going to go fishing and not put the time in to make a proper offer, you don't deserve the respect of a counter, basically.
Or sometimes we'll, you know, you ask how you respond. A lot of times I'll throw back a similar offer, but I'll sweeten it up, you know, maybe throw a 2nd or a 3rd, and then they get the instant reject. And I'm wondering, you know, if they wanted to send that to me, if it's a good offer, you know. why wouldn't they take it? So
right. A lot of times you do see that. You see that and you send back a counter that is fair. He's getting the guy he wanted, and he never wanted to trade that guy in the first place.
right.
So it didn't matter what you countered back with a lot of time. Very, very annoying. So is that your WTF, Rick?
It is, man. It's we're on the same line.
Sorry, brother. I didn't mean to steal it.
It's good. It's a good.
I can imagine on the first show the panic of Rick Taylor when you came out and said I can see the white wall sweating behind him.
Rick's like, why'd you invite this guy, man? Who invited this guy?
Right. Hey, this guy's got talent, dude. Rick, you can get shit. I'm gonna give you a little WTF from me. And we're heading into draft season now, right? NFL draft season coming up after the Super Bowl. I cannot stand the general managers that look at a wide receiver and think a wide receiver from Texas Tech or Arizona State is ever better than a wide receiver from Alabama or LSU. These general managers are so stupid. They don't understand when Alabama plays LSU, okay, that's two pro teams playing against each other right now. Okay, when Texas Tech plays Fresno State, that is not two pro teams. So you cannot properly evaluate people there. Okay, if they would just pick the people from Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma, Michigan, and Ohio State occasionally, okay, you really can't go wrong. There's so many busts I'm seeing. And, of course, JD knows where I'm going, right to the Philly situation, being the Philly boy. You take Rager. Yeah, he might be a good player. But what about the guy that caught 120 balls at LSU the year before? Let's pass on that guy who's already played Alabama and lit Alabama up? It drives me crazy. What's your thoughts on that? None?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's cases throughout, like, Antonio Brown was more small school. I think Jerry Rice was small school, right? But the chances of hitting, I mean, would you want to be a star and get that special pick that you can always say you found the gem, or you just, take the odds? And I generally agree with that.
Great call. I mean, Mississippi Valley State, there's only so many Jerry Rices coming out of there, right? Okay, so
but guys, that's not the first time Philly. Can we swear on this?
No. If you bring up JJ Arcega-Whiteside, I'm going to have my producer just push the button and we'll move on.
We could even go back to what is it? Oh man, one of my early busts. He's in LA right now. Catching like a game. Aguilar. There you go. There's another guy, right? The issue is that it's gonna look at Corey Davis, right? He's starting to pop a bit, but it's gonna take those guys a lot longer to adapt, and that's what you're saying, right? Like, why would you go on a contending NFL roster and grab a guy that's gonna need 2 or 3 years? And you look at dynasty owners, dude, they make the exact same mistakes.
It is.
They're trying to build their team to win a dynasty, but they're drafting that same Rager, in the first round, or a guy that maybe is not in the best situation and isn't going to give you the biggest pop right away, right? So you see it everywhere, man.
I agree. Let's move on, boys. Let's move on. So, as you know, RosterWatch, my good friends Byron Lambert and Alex Dunlap decided to put together their first ever dynasty rankings for us. We think they're excellent, and we're going to scrutinize them each week with our guests of what they got going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a player, okay, and I'm going to give you his ranking in RosterWatch's ranking, and you tell me high or low. Do you like where they put him or not? So we're going to start in the running back position, okay? We're going to start with very controversial player, and I can see this guy going anywhere from middle second round all the way to the fourth. I'm not sure where he's going to be going next year. Let's talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He is RosterWatch's 15th ranked running back right now, 21-year-old Kansas City Chief. Boys, is that high or low for them?
That's low.
Go ahead, JD. Why don't you take this?
No, I always want to let you go first. Right? I think that's about. I think he's maybe pushing. There's guys that have probably crept ahead of him, like David Montgomery is probably a guy that might go ahead of him just based on recency bias. Eckler, Kareem Hunt has been one of those quiet RB1s for the past couple years now, consistently. James Robinson is a name that came out of nowhere, where people might take ahead of CEH. I think it's one of these things, like maybe it's going to take him longer to adapt. Usually your running backs, you want to see him personally. I want to see him hit early, especially when you're getting him. He was a 101 or 102. Yep. I was lucky the guy ahead of me took CH and I got JT, and JT's my boy. Right. But right now CH is he's kind of a late teen, a back end RB2. But I also think he can be a sneaky buy right now, because let's remember the offense that he's in. They're not going to the Super Bowl for nothing. And the investment that they made in him, he was always a luxury pick, so they can allow him to develop. Right? They've got Williams, they've got other pieces. They brought in Bell. Maybe they expected more from Bell, but look, they're in a scenario where a guy like CH is a luxury. They can allow him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more from him next year. This to me is just an opportunity to maybe buy on the hype. We're going to talk about a tight end later. Again, huge hype coming into the season, didn't hit. Those are the guys you want to buy the following year.
I agree with you 1,000% everything you said. And Rick, I'm going to move things on. I'm going to hit you with a wide receiver coming up in a second. But going back, AD, to you, is that I think it's a buy right now for him. You're not going to get him at a lower price. He's a 21-year-old rookie in the best offense in football with 72 weapons, right? So, yeah, a lot of it was the hype in the beginning of the year that he didn't get in the end zone a lot. And people had a problem with that because there were a lot of goal line carries, including 3 in one game. But, if there was a hole, he would have got through it, okay? And I watched those games. The blocking wasn't great. I think moving forward, as Kelsey gets older, okay, Hill is a wild card. You never know where he's going to be in the league, out of the league. You don't know a lot of things. Mahomes, they're going to rely, and they relied on the running game real heavily in the beginning of the year. He would produce pretty nicely. Without getting in the end zone, he would have had some big numbers. He's a buy for me also at that.
And just to throw in, he's also 21, guys. Like,
correct.
He's 21, you know what I mean?
Correct. Right. I'm going to go to you, Rick.
Okay.
And I didn't do this on purpose, but I'm going to talk to you about we are Penn State Nittany Lion Allen Robinson. Yeah, I think I go right to the Big Ten and the Nittany Lions for you, right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it is.
Comfortable here.
One of my favorite Penn Staters of all time.
A great player. I mean, you talk about a guy that got dealt some shitty cards in quarterbacks. There's never been anybody like him. I mean, really, you got to play for Blake Bortles and Mitch Trubisky and produce the numbers that you've produced. It's a miracle. Okay, so how good is this guy? We all know he's a free agent, right? So currently right now, RosterWatch has him as the 15th ranked wide receiver, a 27-year-old, basically in the prime of his career right now with a home we don't know yet. What's your thoughts on Allen Robinson?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with where he ends up. I mean, from a talent standpoint, the contested catches he makes, the stats he puts up with poor quarterback play is, you can't argue with it. And I think he only can go up with quarterbacks. So no matter where he goes, what are the chances of him finding somebody worse? So I would have him like above Keenan Allen. I know Keenan Allen has a better quarterback. I think we've seen his ceiling. So I would probably bump A-Rob up a little bit higher. But again, it does depend on a little bit his landing spot. But the guy's great. He's a great talent, and I think he's going to continue. Let
me throw a curveball at you.
Yeah.
Real quick. Who you got? Michael Thomas or Allen Robinson?
Personally, because of my bias.
You got a lot of unknown there, right? You don't know a quarterback in New Orleans, and you don't know a Robinson. A lot of unknowns. What you got with it?
See, in Dynasty, I'm probably taking Thomas because of name value. I think that I could probably trade Michael Thomas and get Allen Robinson and a second or a third, even though, I think that maybe I'd rather have A-Rob on my team.
That's a great call. It's a great call. It's good stuff. It's a lot of unknown with him, but, being from Philly and my partner from Penn State and what a great player he is, I'd like to see him end up in Green Bay or somewhere like that with a real quarterback for a couple years and see what kind of numbers that guy can produce. He's a great player, man. Moving on. This one is tough, man, and we're going to you, JD. This is tough. There is a tight end out there. He's the 21st ranked tight end. He's a 22-year-old. He's from the great north, whatever, wherever you're from, JD, up high in the snow country up there. This guy is a stud, and I just think he's got bye written all over him. Mr. Irv Smith Jr.
Yeah, man. You've got something. I don't know if you've already got it up there or not, because I didn't notice when I was on last night. But the bargain bin, right? And for me, we talk about these guys like CEH. There's hype, man, in sports. There's always hype on guys, and it's usually before the actual event is when the hype is, right? Something like sports cards is something I'm really into right now. And there was fights this weekend, and Conor McGregor's card sold for like a record high, during that day. He lost that night. So imagine the guy who bought that card. I went the other way. I bought 2 Poirier rookies like 2 weeks ago, and he ended up pulling the upset, right? And increases in value. So for me right now, Irv is a guy where everyone expected last year to blow up. Rudolph was still there. He was in year 1 of his contract. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Rudolph he's not only going on 67, but he's also going on in the second year of his 2-year contract, right?
Correct.
So for me, that's like a transition year. That's when they're going to really start passing the torch, using him more as a mentor for Irv. Look, Irv is 6'2". He's 250. He's a beast, man. 250 red zone target. That's what you want from your tight end, right? You want tight ends. You want your 5-6 targets at most. But if they're going to score you touchdowns, and again, look who he's fighting for targets, man. There's Thielen. He's getting, he's on the way down after this year. You've got JJ, who's doing awesome, opening it up for the offense, and the Cooks and the running backs are solid. But he's up there in targets on that offense. Even if they bring in a rookie receiver, he's part of the plans, man, moving forward. Another young rookie that maybe didn't pop. He's 22, like you said.
22 years old.
That's the guy you want to invest in. For me, he's a tight end 1 in Dynasty. For me, he's a top 12.
Let me ask you a question. Do you trade 1.10, 1.11 for him? Not before the draft. After the draft. Okay, great call.
Because the picks value has a higher chance to increase between now and the draft, whereas his value can take a hit at the draft depending on who they bring in.
Correct.
So for me, I would wait till after the draft to make a move like that.
It's great information. That's why we bring experts like you in here to talk about real situations. Okay. So I'm going to throw the last one to you, Rick, before we move on here. Okay. Certain quarterback in Detroit, good player. Never had a whole lot around him. Had some receivers around him. Never had a running game. Matt Stafford is going to be moving on. Plenty of quarterback openings out there right now, okay? Currently, right now, he's the 16th ranked quarterback, 32 years old. Got years left, man. We're watching Rodgers and Brady and the rest of these guys go deep early in their 40s. So guys got 5-6 years of good football left. Nobody's ever questioned his heart or his arm. Questioned his coaches and his running game, which has always been a hindrance, and the health of his wide receivers. So Matt Stafford, is he somebody that you're sneaky looking to buy right now? In Superflex for sure, but can he sneak into the QB1 conversation if he lands in Indianapolis?
I think he's always been on that fringe QB1, QB2 range. I'd probably let the hype build on him a little bit. People thinking, hey, maybe he could go here and look to sell him. I don't expect – he hasn't had terrible weapons in Detroit, put up pretty good numbers. I can't imagine a situation out there. Maybe Denver. Denver has a ton of weapons. But who's going to have a big explosive offense sitting there waiting for him? Indy's an example. They have a big run game, though. So I expect him to stay in that range, and I'd probably look to, like I said, sell when the hype goes up and everybody thinks he's going to overperform in the next spot. It's my take.
It's a great call. I like it. It's a great analysis. Very good. Going to move on, boys. Keeping it moving here, right? We are now going to put up an actual live team from Dynasty Depot that's for sale right now on the site. So here we go. Real quick, we're going to move through this quickly. I want you to look at this team, and I'm sure you already have. I'm going to ask each of you a question, 2 questions. First of all, Rick Taylor, is this a keeper team for you? If you purchase it, is this something you rebuild? Is this something you're trying to win right now? Give me a move you want to make on this team to improve it.
First one, I'm probably looking to move Jones. And anytime you have a receiver like Julio, if you can get somebody to bite on him, maybe that's more likely an in-season move where somebody's trying to compete and he's putting up numbers and you can move them. But I'm probably starting to spin this towards younger players. Even Cook would be on the board because you have the quarterbacks that are going to be good for the next 10 years, Burrow and Prescott. You can just fill in some pieces with some youth. I think you could spin this around because a lot of pieces still have value. And Higgins, young guy.
So are you moving Jones probably for a mid to late 1, Thielen for early 2 maybe? Are you looking to do that to play for next year? Because you do have some young pieces on this team.
Yeah, if I can get a mid 1 and a super flex for Jones, I'm definitely jumping on that. Yeah, Cook, I'm maybe looking for an early 1 plus a piece. Maybe I can get like a James Robinson or even in a mid 1 for that. Something to add some youth. It's a best ball too, so you want some more depth on the team.
Great call. JD, your thoughts on this team?
Yeah, I kind of think that based on the owner, you always have to decide, like you said, what am I doing with this team, right? Especially with the Dynasty Depot around, that's your number one question. Are you flipping it? Are you just trying to get into a dynasty league on the FFPC and this is your way in? Are you just trying to get a bargain? Are you looking at, so that's always in question. But honestly, man, I feel like no matter which one of those 3 options are there, I'm building my team the same way. I'm moving a guy like Julio, whether I'm contending or not right now, just because, you can throw him in a deal like I talked about earlier, where maybe you're overpaying for something, but you're getting something that you think is going to, seriously increase their value, or maybe it's already there and people haven't caught on. And I see pieces on here. I know we talked about Stafford, Aaron Jones, and DJ Shark are 3 pieces that can seriously increase in value, between now and the draft. So Jones and Stafford, free agency or trade. Shark, they're supposed to be drafting the 101, right? Who are they going to draft? Where's the hype going to be? Chenault, the hype is already there. You're hearing the whispers.
Yes.
Everybody forgot about DJC for some reason, because to me, he looked like a wide receiver 1 last year. Or was that the year before? So these guys are going to be fighting for targets, but those are the 2 guys who are going to hype up in value. So for me, I'm looking to move. I like to come in and start churning over and grabbing younger pieces, but those are pieces that you can move. Aaron Jones is a running back. So again, the 25-year-old cliff is the new cliff for running backs. We see it every year. Todd Gurley was the last great example. So there's a lot of pieces on this roster. When you're looking at Dalvin Cook and you're looking at Aaron Jones, those are 2 pieces I'm looking to move right away. At receiver, I don't see a true number 1 stud. I love them. I love T. Higgins. Love T. Higgins. Love Shark as a prospect. But you also have Boyd. You know what I mean? You don't need Boyd and Higgins on the same roster. So maybe if you believe in Higgins, the other thing you want to do is look at the pieces you're going to build around. Whether that's to compete now or to compete later, you're still building around pieces. So if you say, you know what, I like T. Higgins, I'm going to build around him. To me, he's a good wide receiver 2. I'm getting myself a stud wide receiver 1, which you have beautiful pieces to move to do that.
Yep.
And then I'm moving a guy like Boyd. Whether you're pairing him up with Julio, pairing him up with Cook, or with Jones, and you're getting yourself, some really nice pieces, whether it's a high draft pick. But that's kind of how I'm approaching this, on top of kind of what you guys have already talked about, like with it being best ball and the depth and so on.
So I'll throw this at you. You guys don't know. So somebody interesting brought something to me, and it comes to mind when we're talking about this team. And not to toot our own horns, but Dynasty Depot has changed the way some people are thinking right now, because instead of taking some of these pieces and rebuilding or playing for the future, maybe you don't play for the future. You play for now because there's an outlet to now get rid of that team. So I'm starting to see people go for it more. A couple of people have talked to me about this, and moving some draft picks that you really shouldn't be moving to try to win now, knowing if it's a pretty good team and you win, you're going to be able to win and move that team on Dynasty Depot. Is that a legitimate theory?
Let me ask you guys this. What should you have done in fantasy with McCaffrey or Barkley going into last season if you own them? And I know, because I got caught with my hand in the cookie jar. You should have sold them. You should have sold them, because as soon as a guy is at the top of the hill, at the highest possible value, where else can they go but down? Especially at the running back position. It's the same in Dynasty.
450 touches a year, right?
Exactly. But I'm using the parallel. It's the same in Dynasty. You win your league, you built your team, you won your league. What's left? Are you going to repeat for the next 10 years? The odds say you're probably not.
Probably not.
So like you said, that is one way to do it, is if you've got a team. I just won my 500. I could probably sell that thing. I've got a nice team, young, solid. I like Jacobs, Sanders, Montgomery. I've got Adams, Juju, Diggs. It's a young. I've got Kittle. I mean, I'm loaded. I'm young. I've got picks. I could easily sell that, and that would be probably smart to do. That I'm thinking out loud, because and another way you talk about it often, Nelson, is what you inspired. Like, kind of got me excited. Is I love best balls. I love drafting best balls, but I also love drafting dynasties to a fault. Right. And last year, my biggest mistake was I was spread too thin. Right. I couldn't. I was thankful that I won that 500, and I won a few leagues that I was able to put time towards. But there's a handful of teams where I didn't even go near them. I was putting a starting lineup at the last second, and that's about it. And now, if I get an itch and I want to draft a startup in Dynasty, I could start drafting as soon as they open the gates, and then by August have that team sold.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk on the chatting about Dynasty Depot that people are really waiting for the maiden season to open up. Because let's face it, we all love drafting. We like to have 2 or 3 going on at the same time. Yet it becomes burden. When the league year comes, like I had 82 teams this year, as you well know. And listen, you make mistakes. But I've seen a team like yours at 500, Rick. I'm right. Yeah. There's a team up there right now. It sounds really similar to a team like yours, and there's a $2,300 bid on it. So if you're telling me you won the 500, which pays $2,900, right? And now you can monetize that and pick up another $1,000, $1,200 on it and run like a mother. It's not a bad plan, man. It's a nice cash.
Yeah.
Nice cash.
I agree. I think the other thing, so we drafted so many teams last year, and at the end I looked at, all the teams, and I had, 70% at Kenny Galladay. And after the fact, I was stuck. Do I try and move them? Now I'd probably put, half those teams up, sell them, and try and get some pieces that I don't have any of. Like I ended with very little Justin Jefferson, just because that's the way the drafts went. And, you can diversify your teams a little bit.
It's awesome, guys. It's great information. Each week, we're going to post a team up on Dynasty Depot Live, straight from the site, break it down a little bit, try to give you some insight what you should look for, depending on what your game plan is, right? Because everybody's got a different game plan, right? So it's a beautiful thing. Big game coming up in 2 weeks, boys. Big game. Chiefs are currently 3.5 point favorites, and we're going to talk in a minute with Borgata Brett, world famous prognosticator, is going to give us some breakdown on this stuff. What's your initial thoughts on the game, man? It's obviously a great game. initial thoughts. I'm not looking for the winner or anything. Thoughts on the contest?
Yeah, I don't think I haven't analyzed it enough yet, but I think it's going to be a close game, just like the spread. I think Tampa has the defense, the speed that they can play with KC. Brady, you can't go against them. I think it's a really intriguing matchup. I gotta dig into it a little more before I'm ready to say which way I think it's going to go.
Absolutely, Jay. What's your thoughts on this,
guys? This could be the greatest Super Bowl of all time. This is passing. There's so many storylines here that are just above and beyond anything we've ever seen. The GOAT. I'm a Colts fan, man. I effing, I can't remember if I can swear or not. Love Brady. I love Brady because I'm a fan of sports. I'm a fan of GOATs. I'm a fan of guys that just like this is literally, we've got the GOAT that's passing the torch to the newest GOAT in the league, which is Mahomes, right? Mr. $100 million man. And you're talking about Brady, who's 43, you've never seen a team play at home for the Super Bowl. Like the guy just keeps crossing off things off. Like the bucket list is not even like he smashed the bucket list, like a long time ago. But it's just, to me, this Super Bowl is huge, man. Like, and you look at the teams, they match up nicely. Like this could be the coaching involved. There's a lot of different aspects right now. You've got Gronk again, passing the torch, right? Gronk and Kelsey.
Right.
There's a lot of different factors here that are interesting. Antonio Brown, he's in the Super Bowl. I don't know if he's playing or not, but he's in the Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a little scary, but
I'm looking forward to it, man. But one thing you got to say, like, how can you bet against Brady? He went to another team. I don't give a shit who's on that team. He went to another team in the first season and went to the Super Bowl. If you're not impressed, just bury yourself, man.
It's a great call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Borgata Brett right now to discuss this game on the gambling side. Borgata Brett, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Nelson. How you doing?
We're doing great. So for those of you who don't know Brett out there, world famous gambling prognosticator. Actually, he's one of my close friends that knows a shitload about football and statistics. And we're going to bring him in here and talk about it right now. Doing all right tonight, buddy?
I'm good.
Excellent. Let me fire a couple questions at you, my friend here. I think our audience of 3 and me, Rick and JD, would love to talk about it. So betting wise, I know next week you're going to give us your predictions and what's going on, and we'll all sit on the edge of our seats for that. But let's talk about some stuff. So the Super Bowl is known as a very, very streaky game. Are there any streaks right now, AFC, NFC, whatever you want to talk about, any streaks we need to know about right now heading into this game?
Well, on the surface, you wouldn't think so, because there's been 54 Super Bowls, and the NFC and the AFC have each won 27 times. And even if you look at the game against the spread, the NFC only has a very small margin. They're 27, 24, and 3 against the spread. So that really doesn't tell you anything. But if you look back over the years, you'll see that there have been a couple major periods where one league has dominated the other. So after Green Bay won and covered Super Bowl I and II, starting in 1969, the AFC won 11 out of 13 of the next games, straight up. And they were 9-3-1 against the spread. So they had a period from 69 to 81 where they dominated. And then it flipped. The NFC from 1982 to 1997 won 15 out of 16 games. Remember, the 49ers won 4 times. The Cowboys won 3 times. The Redskins won 3 times. The Giants won 2 times. That's when the NFC East was the NFC East. And they covered. They were 12-3-1 against the spread in those 16 games. And then most recently, the AFC has been on top. They are 6-2 straight up and against the spread in the last 8 games.
Straight up and against the spread.
Both.
Love it. So let's talk about the spread. Right now, I'm seeing 3s. I'm seeing 3.5s out there, right?
Right.
People be worried about that 3.5. You're worried about that hook with the 3.5 because big games like that. Do we really have to worry about the number? Or in Super Bowl, I've heard theories out there that you pick a team and that's usually the team that ends up covering. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. So there's a few things you need to know about the spread. First of all, the favorites are 34-19 straight up. There was one pick'em game. But the favorites are only 25, 26-3 against the spread. So you just can't bet the favorite because it's kind of a toss-up there. Now, in the last 11 Super Bowls, this point spread hasn't mattered. All you had to do was pick the winner. And in fact, over the whole history of the Super Bowl, all you had to do was pick the winner. And if you picked the winner, you cashed 88% of the time. You were 45-6-3 against the spread, just figuring out who was going to win the game. Not that that's that easy to do, but you just have to pick the winner. So whether you're laying 3 minus 120 or 3.5 even, which is where the line is across Las Vegas right now, it really doesn't matter. It's unlikely that that's going to come into play. Either Tampa's just going to win the game straight up or Kansas City's going to cover. In the last few years, the dogs have won and covered 6 of the last 9. Okay?
And covered.
And covered. But in the last 4 years, the favorites have covered and won 3 of the 4 times. So it's really hard to tell. There's not a definitive trend there.
So if you're like JD and going to ride the GOAT to history here, if you're betting the game, you're going Tampa on the money line, right?
You would bet both. You put some money on the money line and you put some on the spread.
Awesome. So the game is a 57, 58. It's probably coming down a little bit total right now.
56 on my bookie right now.
Yeah, it's come down. I think it opened at 57.5. I saw 57. Now it's down to 56. Talk to me about the over/under in the game.
So the total I just checked is 56.5 across the board at the moment, and the extended forecast is for 70 degrees with 5 to 10 mile an hour winds in Tampa on the 7th of February. So the weather looks perfect, and the weather is something that can really affect the total. Now, if we look at the history of the total in the Super Bowl, they only had a total going back to 1985. You used to not be able to bet on the total score of the game. But since 1985, the over is 21-14-1 against the spread. So 67% of the time since 1985, the game has gone over the total. However, in the years where the total was 50 or higher, the under is 8-4. So 8 out of 12 times when you've had a high number, the game is going under. So that's something to think about as well.
Awesome. Interesting stuff. So we all know Super Bowls are the goofy bets of the year, the coin flips, the color of the flags, the wind direction, goofy bet after goofy bet, crazy props like no other game. Give me a couple goofy trends that the public has no idea about that only Borgata Brett can come up with that's going to blow you away with these statistics. Give me something goofy, man.
All right, I got a few of them for you. Number one, the team.
I feel like I was going to ask you that question.
We talked about it. The team wearing white has won 13 of the last 16 Super Bowls.
That's awesome.
Now, last year, Kansas City was wearing red. Okay, so here's how it works. There's a designated home team in the Super Bowl. Now, this year, Tampa is the designated home team, and they actually are the home team, but that's not how it works. So they're designated the home team. They will get to choose whether they're going to wear their home jersey, which is usually the jersey with the color, or the road jersey, which is usually the white jersey.
I wonder if they know that stat.
What?
I wonder if they know that stat.
I don't know either. They have not made a decision. There has not been an announcement on what color jersey they're going to wear. Hopefully we'll know that by next Monday. Number two, in Florida, there's been 16 games played in Florida. The favorite is 12-4 straight up, 11-3-1 against the spread. Okay? Couple more. The head referee in the game is Carl Cheffers. I think I'm saying his last name correctly. Now, this is going to be his first Super Bowl as a head referee. There's a lot of people that track the stats on the referees, and they bet accordingly, or at least take it into consideration. In his last 16 games where he's been the head referee, the Dogs are 11-5 against the spread. And the total is 11-5 to the under based on his trend. So there's a couple. Next week, we'll have some props for you. We'll talk a little bit about betting the coin flip. And we'll make some picks on the game and maybe talk about teasers as well. We'll try to make your big listening audience some easy money on the Super Bowl.
Hey, man, I got a couple producers sitting here looking at me that are writing shit down. So, you must be having an effect on somebody right now, buddy.
All right.
That is well done.
Great. Yeah, that was great.
Boys, that's enough. Like, I'm not going on for hours. I got to do this every week. I got to think of something else to say next week. I'm kind of only looking for what Borgata Brett's got to say next week, not what I got to say, because that's important to me. So, JD, you got something to throw at us here? You got something for Borgata Brett? Looks like you're coming
I was just going to say, him and I can start a band, man. We got the guitar in the background. We got the no hair going on. We're good to go, man.
That is amazing, man. I love that.
I'll have a guitar next week, guys.
Man, I'll tell you what, Rick, we got to give assignments for every week. I'm just looking for a wall that's not white behind you next week. Is what I'm doing. Look at that primer.
You got to get a picture of yourself and Nelson at the Super Bowl.
That's awesome.
Not hair on it, but yeah.
That's a winning picture. We might not see that again for a while, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true.
We were able to do it. So, boys, we're going to get out of here. I'm going to throw this to JD. JD, tell them where to find you. Tell them what's going on. Give me goodness.
Yeah, man. Again, guys, appreciate you guys having me on your first episode. Congrats on all the success. Looking forward to playing on Dynasty Depot all off season. You can find me at GOAT District on Twitter. You can find basically on any platform the GOAT District Network, and we even have a YouTube channel. We cover everything, man. We started with Dynasty player values. We bring in the greatest minds in the game we've had on the show, including guys like Nelson. And we're going to be covering DFS, ranking shows, waiver wires, commissioner focused shows. So literally every aspect of fantasy will be covered. So it's the perfect complement to the Dynasty Depot show. So if you're tuning into them, make sure you subscribe to our goodness. And I got to give a shout out to my right-hand man at Overhyped Sleeper, no E at the end, Mr. Dan Williamson. Just for his great mind, it's worth the tune in. So thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Man, awesome. Borgata Brett, tell them where you can find Borgata Brett.
Well, my information has been exclusive up to this point, but I just opened a new Twitter account at Borgata Brett, and I will be passing along some information, one item a day, on my Twitter account, and I hope to hear back from the fans out there.
That's awesome. Rick, any final things from the man, the mystery himself?
No, it was a great first show. A lot of fun. Really, thank you, JD. Thanks, Brett. You guys were great. A lot of fun. Look forward to it next week. And good start.
Awesome. So what I want to do, I'm going to close the show is because I know we got 3 people out there that are going to listen to this. Anybody that DMs me at the Dynasty Depot, anybody that DMs me WTF to at the Dynasty Depot, I will give you a free membership for 30 days to come on board. Give us a shot. Take a look. So it's at the Dynasty Depot. DM me, coming right to my home. DM me WTF, and I'll give you a free membership. Next week, you're going to want to listen in or watch or whatever we're doing here, which I'm not really sure. But the great man Alex Dunlap from RosterWatch is going to be joining us. Everybody hears RosterWatch and Alex on SiriusXM constantly, and he is awesome. He's fun, and we're really excited to have him next week. So next week will be Alex Dunlap from RosterWatch. That's about it for this show, Season 1, Episode 1 of Dynasty Depot Live. I'm going to try to figure out like what a good saying is, but like I've been singing the GOAT song all day today, in my head. Oh, I'm just walking around all day. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'll always be trading. I'll always be trading." I try to keep it real, but the real thing is buy low and sell high. That's what we're trying to do, right? Buy low and sell high. Love you guys. Thanks a lot for your time tonight. We look forward to next week, and out.
You've been listening to the Dynasty Depot podcast, the best source for what's hot in Dynasty Fantasy Football team action. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at the Dynasty Depot. And listeners get a 30-day free rookie membership. Go to dynastydepot.com and use promo code PODCAST. Dynasty Depot. Bid, buy, sell, dominate.